Welcome back to the Aussie Grappling Media Podcast. We're here with Raph Bardi at his gym 411. Raph,
Good morning.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How was your drive to the gym this morning?
It was long, an hour and 40 minutes, because I live on the Central Coast, so there was a lot of traffic. There's a lot of criminal operation going on the Eastern Distributor, so it took me a little while, but I'm here.
You weren't the criminal, were you?
No.
All right, so let's get straight into it. Obviously, we had Nick on last week, one of your students.
Yep.
Come to you now. I think to be a bit of a better podcast. No offense, Nick, but sort of talk us through. Yeah, we'll get started at the very start. What sort of got you into jiu-jitsu at the very start?
I was pulled into a gym by my friends, which I think a lot of people have a similar situation for how they started jiu-jitsu. I didn't really know anything about it or wanted to do it. I just thought I kind of put it into the category of weird martial arts. But when my friends dragged me down to do it and I actually tried a class, I actually really enjoyed it. And then I started coming pretty sporadically, I'd say like 2 or 3 times a week. And then I really started enjoying the classes and the content and just the whole thinking aspect of it. And so I started coming probably like once a day, twice a day. And then, just started getting into it full time after I started competing and doing matches in the gi. And then as a blue belt, late blue belt, purple belt, swapped to no-gi.
So you started in the gi. Where was this? Is it Hamada?
Yeah, Gracie Hamada in Alexandria. I started with my coach Chris, who's also one of the owners here.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed it, and I still really enjoy the gi, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's still really cool. Yeah.
And when you sort of first started, I said this to Nick last week. Like, did you see yourself coaching jiu-jitsu, or was it sort of one of those things where you're like, I'm just going to sort of do it? And
Yeah, I think I just sort of started doing it. I never really thought I was going to be a good athlete because I started late, but I just thought I'd give it a crack anyway and try and compete. And then, like, I did well at blue belt in the gi, but then after that, I wasn't really winning that many comps, and I kind of had to make money coaching jiu-jitsu, and I saw myself going in that direction. I felt deep down that I was better at coaching in jiu-jitsu than I was at actually competing, so I've kind of taken that approach, and I think it's been going pretty well. Yeah.
So you've been coaching how many years now?
Probably full time, like 5.
5.
Yeah, probably more, 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you doing before coaching full time?
I've done a lot of things. I've worked with the Defence Force. I've worked in corporate. I've played soccer. But really, like, before starting jiu-jitsu, just before, I was working a corporate job. I was actually working at one of the big 4 accounting firms, we call it, EY. And I'd done like this massive interview process to get in there. And once I had gotten there, I realized I despised working in a corporate environment. And that kind of prompted me to do something different, which was, really pursue jiu-jitsu as a career.
Yeah.
And so I'd spoken to Chris and said, I'm happy to just try out teaching some kids classes, teaching some, assisting some fundamental classes. And I just realized I really enjoyed making a difference in people's lives and serving the community. So I was like, okay, well, even if I'm going to make, 80% less money, I'm happy to do it because I feel like it's serving a better purpose for people and actually benefiting, people's lifestyles. So I started doing that, and then that's really how it led into competitive coaching and coaching athletes who want to do this full time.
Yeah, and I think on that competitive coaching, now you've got a pretty good team of athletes behind you.
I think so. Like, obviously every team is biased and thinks their guys are the best and thinks they're good. But, I think, like, considering I'm not like a well-known name in jiu-jitsu and I haven't been coaching that long, I think, like, in the short amount of time, I think I've produced or helped produce some really good guys. So, and 3 years is not a long time for a gym to be open. So I think, like, that speaks for itself in terms of, how good the guys have gotten so quickly. And, a lot of people have come across from gi or from other countries like Red and Serena and stuff and have made a pretty good turnaround and done pretty well considering really how much time they spent training no-gi. So,
and I think, like, the biggest thing going back to, like, owning a gym was, what was that risk for you? Like, I think I listen to a lot of people who open gyms and they say, like, it's a massive risk, right? You were a guy who was in accounting, started coaching jiu-jitsu, and then you're like, I'm going to open a gym. What was that? What was your sort of thought process and the risk behind that?
Well, I wasn't in accounting. Like, it was it was an accounting, like, they call it a top 4 accounting firm, but really they do a lot of stuff, and I worked in finance. But Yeah, it was a risk, but I think it was less of a risk for Chris and myself because we had worked at many gyms, and when I say many, really two big franchises, which were Gracie Humaida, and I had worked at SJJ at the time, coaching at in Maroubra and Zetland, and so I felt like when I had when I had the funds ready to open a place of my own with a business partner, I kind of already had a group of students ready
to go with you.
I don't want to say ready to jump ship, but I knew deep down that a lot of them would come with us.
Yeah.
And that's not me just saying, "Hey, come join my gym." I knew for sure we had a good following of people. So in my head, when we had done the numbers, we'd sat down, at my house with Chris, and we're like, "Okay, well, realistically, how many students do we need, and how quickly, so that we can afford rent?" We knew it was a risk, but it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, okay, we're going to go out of business in 3 months if we don't get the numbers.
Yeah.
We had forecasted that we can survive at least a good year.
Yeah.
And we're going to need 40 students or 50 students in that year. And we were like, that's pretty doable. So yes, it was a risk, and you kind of get scared seeing all your funds that you've worked so hard for and, that you've kind of saved up go towards that rather than stay in your bank account for a rainy day. And I think that's the hard part, is just kind of going all in and taking the gamble. But to make a long story short, yeah, it was a calculated one.
It was calculated. Yeah. It wasn't just all right, I'm just going to open a gym and not think about it. You guys sort of sat down and.
Oh yeah. There was a huge business plan that went on for a good 3 months before we pulled the trigger. And I mean, I say this story to everyone, but the hardest part is really finding a commercial space and negotiating a lease, because that's going to be your biggest overhead. And if you can negotiate a good deal on the lease and you can take your time on that, then that's really going to help you make more money. Because if you're paying 150K versus 100K in rent a year, and it's obviously a massive difference. And a lot of people get stung like that and close their business because they can't pay the rent, right? Because that's the biggest overhead that most jiu-jitsu gyms have, because we need so much space for the mats and bathrooms and
everything comes
else
along with the gym.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you guys are always in this space? You didn't have you always came?
Yeah. We were actually going to open on, if you know where Waterloo is, the Macca's at Waterloo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were going to open in the building opposite. There's an IGA there, if you're familiar with with the location. And in the IGA, there's a basement that goes down, and there's a commercial space there that you can use. The rent was probably 60% less than what we pay here. The space was probably the room where we're in now, the mat space, but there was one pillar.
Yeah.
We were kind of okay, what's the catch? Why is it so cheap? And we couldn't figure it out. So we're okay, well, we're going to sign here because it's such a great deal. And then I spoke to a certifier, because you need to get the space certified for the usage that you want to use it for. And the certifier said, yeah, happy to certify it, blah, blah, blah. Are you underneath residential? And so if you know the space, it's an apartment block.
Yeah.
And he told us that if you want to certify a space underneath residential, that you need City of Sydney engineers to approve anything you want to do, and that's going to cost way more money because you need actual engineers rather than certifiers to come in and approve everything that you're using the space for, essentially. In again, I'm just summarizing, but there's a lot that goes into building a fit out for a gym. And we realized, oh my god, that's going to cost much more money than we thought when we got the quotes down. So that's really the catch. And so Chris was walking past this space one day because he lived around the corner, and it used to be a VR center. And the guy was like, yeah, we're moving out. And Chris said, oh, can I take a look? And then contacted the agent, and the agent was like, yeah, you guys could move in here pretty easily because it's already certified as a recreational area. Yeah, so it was pretty easy. We just put the mats down, already certified, and we could move in. So yeah, that's the story of how we stayed here and why we've only had this place for 3 years.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. It's a pretty good space. I think sort of for you, did you see... I think you guys have a pretty well-known name in Academy 411 has a very good name now in the Sydney space. Did you see when you opened that being the goal, or did you see it was just being did you always want to be that big name, or did you just want all right, if people come, people come?
I think I'm a competitive person. and I mean, my goal is always I just want to be the best, and I want to provide the best space for my students. And really, when you open a gym, and I'm going to answer your question with a long-winded answer. When you open a gym, the thing you have to consider is that it's not going to be about you anymore. Like, it's going to be about the people that are in here, and you have to be prepared to sacrifice your desires, needs, wants for them. And I knew that I wanted the best for my students, and I wanted them to be the best, and therefore I had to sacrifice not just being a business, but being a space where they could grow and improve. And that kind of routed Chris and I into the direction of building a competitive team rather than building, I'm going to call it like, a McDonald's where, we churn in white belts and we get leads and market the gym and try and make as much money as possible. It was always focus on the product.
Yeah.
And what's the product? Well, the product is obviously the jiu-jitsu. And if you can make the jiu-jitsu as good as possible, then the product will sell itself. Like, you don't need to market. And I say this to all the boys all the time, and girls, obviously, sorry, is that it's always about like the process of working hard and like trying to make the product as good as it can, and the results will just follow on their own if you can do that. And yeah, that's really where we kind of got the idea of trying to make the team competitive. And to tell you the truth, it kind of like set in motion other people coming and just really enjoying the space. And I think one of the most important things that we have is not just like the product, but it's like the people. You take Nick, someone you didn't interview with, for example. I haven't met anyone in Sydney or the jiu-jitsu scene that has like a bad thing to say about Nick. And
very true.
It's like those are the type of people that you want in your room, because they're going to attract more people, because they're going to go like, okay, well, everyone's kind and everyone's very thoughtful and nice here. We do have assholes, like, and I have moments like obviously where I can be a bit of a dick, but it's like at the core, like the people care, and so that's going to bring in students. So the business sells itself. I don't need to market anything. Like, when people come in, they feel safe, they feel happy, and they know that the product is good. They get a good round here. So that's kind of how we went in that direction.
I think the other question I have is for you. Like, obviously, you originally were around this area. Now you've moved away.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you're like, okay, this is my business, but I'm far away, and there's a point where you're like, okay, this is hard because I'm away from my family so much. I know you have a little daughter.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of like, is this really? Was there ever a point after moving away that you were like, okay, maybe jiu-jitsu coaching isn't for me, or is it always something you were going to make a sacrifice?
Nah. Like, I always knew that like I can't do something that's like financially motivated. So I'm never going to do a job like corporate or whatever where my goal is to make as much as money possible to provide for my family. I think you have to find a balance where you are going to make enough money to provide for them, where you're like, okay, I don't have to worry too much about the bills, but really the goal has always been to better people's lives and to have a product that, let's again use Nick as an example. Like, when he comes here, like, is that going to serve him for the rest of his life? Like, is he going to be a better human? Is he going to learn from here how to run his own gym if he wants to do that in the future? What are lessons of, it's not to sound cringe, but like, what are the lessons in here going to teach him about being a better person in life?
Off the mats,
and if ever he wants to go work corporate because he doesn't want to do jiu-jitsu anymore, like, is he going to be a better worker, a better human that's going to benefit society, like, because of that? And I think I've never thought, okay, I'm not going to be a coach for jiu-jitsu, but I've always thought, like, I'm going to be a coach that's going to help people. Like, it's not going to, I don't want to talk about like being a life coach, but I think jiu-jitsu helps me better their lives on the outside.
Yeah, as much as it's on the mats, it's off the mats as well.
Yeah, like I coach jiu-jitsu, I sit here and I do a lot of classes, but and you probably see it because you come around the gym and you see me on the phone and stuff like that. Like, I would say like 80% of my job is outside the mats, like managing the athletes who are young, because they are kids at the end of the day, a lot of these guys. And it's like, I organize super fights for them, or, I help them with their travel, or I don't know, there's a million things I can think of that I do on the outside. That's not just coaching.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, people say, oh, you're a jiu-jitsu coach, but it's like, yes, I'm a jiu-jitsu coach, but I also feel like a dad. you know, to like all these guys.
Yeah.
And I think they would agree, like that a lot is done on the outside, you know, like match study and, you know, there's so many things that I can think of. And I think that's really what I do different. And I'm not saying other coaches don't do this, like I'm sure they do, but I try and go above
Put more
and
effort in
beyond.
off the
Yeah, I
mats.
try and go above and beyond on the outside than I do on the mats. Like obviously this is the main thing.
Yeah.
But there's so much more that goes into coaching, as you would probably know.
Yeah. I think for me, like sort of continuing on with this, do you enjoy that aspect of it as well? Like being like, okay, well, I've got Nick here who I can get this
Yeah.
match. You enjoy the sort of like more manager role?
I do and I don't. Like that, it's hard because it's like finding the balance. I enjoy when I get the result that's going to help them or like that they're happy with, right? I sometimes find it hard to work with young athletes, which is just normal. Like and I expect that challenge, and I know that it's coming. So it's not something that I go, oh fuck, I don't want to do this today. But it's like, you know, they want a certain way. They want a certain, you know, like everyone wants to fight for a title,
Yeah.
for they want to win
Everyone wants
trials,
glory,
or
and-
they want to win world. And it's like, oh, I don't have money to pay for this flight. Like I don't have, you know, so sometimes it's hard because you have to bring them back down to earth and go, you know, well, this is what you want. Like, how are you going to get to here? Because a coach isn't a miracle worker, right? Like, I can tell them what to do, and I can tell Nick he's got to win matches or Serena or whatever. Like, you know, and every coach knows this, but it's like they got to go and do the work, right? So it's sometimes difficult, I would say, to manage that aspect, and that you are working with young people whose frontal lobes aren't fully developed, who are emotional, who also have other stresses going on in life like work and uni and, you know, a bunch of other things. So it's like, really, are you able to manage that? And then I do enjoy the managerial process, but I find it hard. I don't want to say hard. I think the challenge for me is that everyone is different and how I manage them individually, the full timers, and even the other students that come part time that want to be managed as well and want fights and want this and want that. Yeah. So I think that's really been the most challenging thing, is doing that all.
Give me 2 seconds. I was going to check that I'm still recording.
No, that's all good.
My phone is like, oh, okay. No, I am. My phone, like, I saw a notification. I was like, I hope I'm not, like,
No, that's okay.
missing.
That's okay. We could do it again. We can ask the same questions anyway if it doesn't work.
I think as well, like, talking about the managing side of it now, we see a lot more shows coming up. Is it hard for you, as someone who sort of manages these athletes, to have all these different shows popping up and knowing where to put people and not? Or are you just sort of like, any opportunity for my athletes, an opportunity in general?
Okay, so my attitude now is any fight we take.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be, you know, I'll be honest and upfront. At the start, it was how can I position the brand in the best possible way, and that would be winning fights, and not just fights, but like tournaments, you know, trials, whatever, like worlds. And so I would try and match the fight perfectly and do what's best so that we would get the win. And I think that was wrong. Like, I think I learned from that mistake that I just wanted, you know, X, Y, and Z to have 10-0 on their records, or like to win as many matches as possible. And I think that's the wrong attitude, because this isn't boxing where it's like
It's
undefeated.
padded record. It's like,
Everyone wants undefeated records and everyone wants to be winning all the time. And I think you should take whatever fight is presented to you, because at the end of the day, if you want to win those difficult tournaments like trials and worlds, it's like you don't know who you're going to face and you're going to have to beat them. So, like, obviously the only exception to that would be, like, you know, if we have, I don't know, like say Serena gets given a white belt for a fight, that's in South Africa and she has to travel there, and it's like, well, it's not worth it, you know, for her. But I think Nick's fight with Jimmy is a good example. Like, he's obviously the underdog, and you know, people who would wager on that match would say that Nick would lose that. But for us, it's such an opportunity for him to fight someone on paper better than him. And like, what better way to test yourself, you know? And I think people get so caught up in the right fight for the highlights on social media and, like, you know, the record. But I think you should just be ready and willing to just take any match and not try and pad your stats. And so it's kind of, been the direction we've taken with that now with everyone. It's like, okay, we'll just take the match.
Take the match. Just any match.
Yeah, just do it. And, you know, it's going to make, even if you lose, like, who cares? It's just a jiu-jitsu match at the end of the day. And, like, you're just going to get so much better off it. It's just data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like sort of coming towards the end of this, like this year it's a pretty active year for the team. We've got M16 coming up with Nick and Serena. Are you going down to M16 to coach?
Yeah. So I'll be in Adelaide at the end of the month. Subversion in 2 weeks. But I just want to put on the record that those shows are never the goal. Like for us, the goal really is to get people winning trials and get us to the ADCC Worlds. Like that's always been the goal since we opened the gym, and everything else is just preparation for that. We don't care about belts that sit on the shelf. Like we care about like how are we going to build these people's careers long term, and that. For me, maybe my opinion's wrong. That's the way it's going to be. So that's what we're working for.
Yeah, and obviously so trials this year is a big one. Are you you guys taking like a decent sized team, or do you think it'll be a few athletes?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be easier as well. Being in the Gold Coast, people are more willing to travel to the Gold Coast than Thailand.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, for you guys, you don't care if the team's small. You went to trials with Nick by himself, but do you feel for the Gold Coast trials? You've got a good energy in the room where people are like, okay, let's all push towards that. Obviously, the Open being the day before helps. But yeah, do you see yourself taking a big team to these trials?
Yep, we got like 10, I'd say right now, 10 to 15 people getting ready to go. And again, like, it's, you don't expect them all to win. It's like there's only one winner in each weight division, and it's so difficult. Only such a small percentage of people will ever win such a prestigious tournament. But I think, again, like, take the fight. Like I said before, like, you should really push yourself and just try, especially if, those guys want to compete. Like, what an opportunity you get to say, like, that in your life you got to fight against the best people in the world, like, in any given sport. I know we hear that a lot in jiu-jitsu, like, oh, you can go train with Gordon Ryan, but you could never shoot hoops with LeBron James or Michael Jordan. But, what an opportunity to say you could, fight against, let's say you pull, like, I don't know, like Daiki from Japan or something in the 66 division. Like, what an opportunity to fight someone that's so good and, have a wrestle with them. So, I say we are going to bring a lot more people because we had so many injuries for Thailand, so we couldn't bring people. But I'm pretty keen for this one, and I'll just be coaching at that one because there's so many people, and I don't want to be jumping on and off the mats competing. Yeah, so I'm keen to just help everyone out for that.
And then on that competing aspect, what can we sort of expect from is your career, not career done? Like, I think it's weird to say as like a jiu-jitsu athlete, my career's done, but I think you sort of taking that back step now. We just saw you compete in Serbia at trials. Are you going to sort of take the back step and be like, look, I'm going to be the coach now, or are we going to see you jump in and out?
Anything I do competition-wise would just be for myself, just because I want to and I feel like competing. And, I actually weirdly love the discipline and of a camp. Like, I don't advocate for weight cutting. I'm kind of against it at heart, but I like, staying on track with my diet, training twice a day, having my whole team help me prepare. I love that atmosphere. And so I like doing that once in a while, just and competing. And then I want to compete a little bit more on the coast, just to put my name out there because I'm living there and, I'm meeting a lot of people and making friends. So I wouldn't say it's like done, but it's just part-time. Yeah, I'll just compete when I feel like it. But really my goal remains to my team and like coaching and making sure that they can be the best that they can be. So that's like my 100% laser focus is just on them at the moment. We got like 5 or 6 full-time guys now. And I'd say most of my energy is allocated to them. And then, it trickles down to the rest of the crew that are here. And, apologies to the other members who feel like maybe they're not, what would be the word, like that they're not being looked
after.
Yeah, looked after. But you are, I watch you and I know what you're doing more than you think, and I know who's ready for promotion and who's not and stuff. But really, they have devoted their life to this, so I would be remiss if I didn't do everything I could to make them better. Yeah, to make them better. Yeah,
and I think talking of trials and competing, how did you find that experience? Was that your first cut to 66 in a while?
In a while, yeah, but the cut wasn't too bad, to be honest. Just the water part is always shit, and like no one likes that. And I don't like dieting. Like I like the discipline of it once I've done it, but I love food, so it's like it's difficult for me to walk past the bakery and not get a croissant. And but like again, it's just like I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes me feel better and more confident about myself. And I really enjoyed. It was my first European trials, and I really enjoyed traveling to Europe with the team and competing and doing it with them and like just being a part of the experience. And even though I lost first round, like I was bummed the first 20 minutes, but then it's like I was like, oh, I'm just happy I made it out here, and I'm still in a position with kids and a full-time gym and so much other stuff going on where I can just compete, and give it a crack. So yeah, I was pretty happy.
And obviously you were there. What was the whole debacle like at Serbia at trials? The whole like medical thing.
Oh yeah,
I've heard like so many different stories. What was it? What was it like being an athlete? I know I was talking to Red about this.
Yeah.
Being an athlete, it's like in a weight cut, and you're just there, and you're like, dude, I just want water. I just want to eat. Like
it's challenging, and I think the hardest part is that you do the weight cut and you expect to weigh in at like a certain time, and you're like, if they tell you, okay, 5 o'clock is the weigh in, and you're like, great, I'm gonna weigh in at 5, and this is gonna be fantastic because I'm gonna be able to drink at 5:04, right, or whatever. But when you get there, and then it takes like an extra 3 hours or whatever, that's when it's hard because the expectation in your head is like, I've only got this amount of time left, but then they keep adding on time, and that was difficult for me. So what he means by the debacle in Serbia is that it was disorganized and that people weighed in very, very late and they were dehydrated and hungry. So
do you think that, touching on that, do you think that would have had an effect on some athletes' performance? As someone with a background watching people cut weight and
no, I don't.
stuff?
I don't because the brackets were terribly done. So some people had 48 hours.
Yeah, that was weird.
Until from between the time they weighed in till the time they fought. So I would have said yes if they would have had to fight the next morning.
Day.
I would have been like, that's a huge disadvantage for the people that weighed in 3 hours late versus the ones that weighed in at, let's say, 5 o'clock with the example I was using. But because everyone was fighting the next day or the day after, it really didn't make that much of a difference. Yeah. So.
And I think coming back to the whole weight cutting thing, as a coach, what is it like watching your athlete? Like the athlete's basically like killing themselves to the point, right?
Yeah.
What's it like being a coach, and do you find cutting weight yourself more stressful or watching someone cut weight because you're sort of like in control of them and like what could go wrong?
Well, I mean, we've been pretty fortunate that we've never had like a crazy weight cut for anyone. I think the biggest one coming out would be like if Serena goes to 55 and decides to stay in that weight bracket. That will be I say the biggest, but it's not even that big of a cut. I'd say the person who cuts the most weight is me. Like I'll cut 10 kilos for 66, and I walked around at like 75, 76. So I'm actually not that stressed when I watch other people cut weight because I know they're going to make the weight, because I'm like, in my head, I have done so much worse than this. And mentally, you guys are a lot stronger than me. You guys always perform better than me. So I'm like, okay, there's no way that this is going to have a negative impact on your performance. There's no way this is going to be that hard for you because of how I was able to do it. Yeah. And I did way more weight than you. Yeah. So
I think so. Coming towards the end of this now.
Yeah.
We've got a few questions. These are the ones I asked Nick last week.
Yep.
Who's the hardest person you've ever trained with? The hardest person you've ever rolled with and like.
Technically?
Yeah.
Or like the person that just gives me the most trouble?
Most trouble, one, but also technically. Like you look at a person like, that is the most technical round I've ever had.
The most technical round would have to be David, who's here now.
Making coffee.
Making coffee, yeah. Like, for me, I'm just like a massive nerd, and like everything he does is so calculated and thought out, and I just love training with him because it's just, I'm just getting obliterated, not with strength or, with raw physical attributes. It's just like it's always like I'm being outmastered.
Yeah,
in the brain.
My brain's in your brain.
Yeah, like he's outthinking me.
Yeah.
10-1 right now, like a supercomputer. So, and I really enjoy that. And then obviously Jeremy as well, who's like one of my coaches and like has had a massive influence on my jiu-jitsu, like let's say career coaching and competing. And he's like the same, like always outthinking me, but him like just always way more physical. Like I'm just like, I can't believe someone who doesn't weigh that much more than me can just like obliterate me like that.
I remember rolling with him and being like, I'm a lot bigger than Jeremy. And he was like doing something, and I was like, dude, this guy is so strong.
Yeah, and it's not strength. Like, it's just like the way he
pure technique.
Yeah, outmaneuvers you. So I would say those two, and then I'm trying to think like who else that's like kind of famous in inverted commas that I've rolled with. I'd say Declan's passing was like really crazy as well. Like I was like, okay, like I know you're much bigger than me, so it's hard to gauge, but I thought his passing was like really, really good. And I've trained with Joseph and all that, and his passing was really good too. It's just different, it's like more side to side, tripod, and Declan like more forcing me into north south, and so it's just different. But like I would say overall, my favorite, most technical, hardest roll is always David, and I'm blessed that I get to roll with him every day. And then in the gi would be Chris. Like, you know, my coach like has always challenged me and pushed me, and has a real Rafa Mendes style, like Barambolos, and he's really pushed me so hard, like, to get better at the start, because he would just train with me 20 times a day.
Yeah.
So like people never see me and Chris roll anymore, because we don't really, like, because he doesn't really train no-gi that much, and he's injured, and you know he's getting on now with his career. But when people say who have you rolled with the most, it's him. Like, I've rolled with him so many times, like, it's crazy. So yeah.
I think, like, 2 more questions.
Of course.
Your dream match. I asked Nick this last week.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a person that, like, say you're like perfectly fine, do the best camp, like, dream match, you're like, oh, if I fought that guy, like, that'd be the highlight.
Like a professional?
Like yeah.
Like, I would love to have one day. Let me think for a minute. Like, so.
Can be gi or no gi.
Yeah.
Past or present.
Okay, no gi. I would love to have a match with Taliesin Suarez one day.
Okay.
Because I just think his jiu-jitsu is so sick, the way he moves, and he had actually like a massive influence on my game. I would get obliterated. There's absolutely no doubt, but I would just love to see what it's like. And I've trained with him a lot, so, you know, in the past, and done rounds with him. Never in no gi, always in gi. If I was in Australia, and we're just talking about mates and stuff, we were talking about this on Saturday. I've never rolled with Jake Nichols, so I would love to have a
subversion match.
No, just a round,
just with him.
Yeah, and I told him I have to come to your gym, or you have to come here, because we've never touched. so like, I would love to do a round with him. Yeah.
And then the last one for me. It's kind of a double-ended question.
Yeah.
So, best bit of advice you've been given while training can be like about training, about life off the mat, and then your advice for the people coming up, like your advice for the future athletes.
Best piece of advice I've been given while training.
It'd be better than Nick's answer, don't worry.
What was Nick's answer?
Apparently someone told him just bring it back to jiu-jitsu. He went really insightful.
The best has to be jiu-jitsu wise?
No, like, can be just in the, like, best bit of advice. Okay, we'll go life. Best bit of advice in life.
Best bit of advice in life is never kiss your mother on the lips the day after your dad's birthday.
You're so far. I'm glad this is the end of the interview, because you fully just derailed my train of thought.
That's jiu-jitsu advice. Honestly, like, if I'm going to be serious, it's just a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah.
It's just a round. Like, don't take it so seriously. Like,
so funny.
Like, I know it's a cringe and so obvious to say, like, enjoy it, but, like, it was actually David that gave me that advice. He's like, and Jeremy the same, like, it's just a match, man. Like, don't worry about it. It's just a round, you know?
That's hilarious, because Nick gave me that advice and tried to make it out like it was his advice.
Oh, really? I say it to Nick all the time. I say it to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, whenever
I think you said it to me, actually.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I say it to everyone, it's like, and genuinely, it makes me feel better. And I don't know if it made you feel better, but it's like, people don't care that much, man. Like, if you lose.
Well, I think that was the thing you said to me in the lead up to Subversion, when I was obviously like in my head, I was like, I've got to win this match. Like, dude, you and Nick were both like, it's just a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, like,
because, like, I think I was taking it so seriously. I was like, oh, like, I've got to win this, and you both were just like, dude, who cares?
Well,
like, no one, like you said to me today for the interview, no one remembers that. No one actually cares. Like,
and I think I had a chat with Serena about, I was like, man, like, you've got a full-time job, you've got a great partner at home, you've got a beautiful apartment, like, you have so many things going for your life. If you lose this, it's not the
it
end
doesn't
of the
affect
world.
you.
Yeah, like, you have such a great life. Like, there's so many other things you can look at with a positive outlook. I think, not to sound cliche again.
I think it comes from that, like, because everyone sees, like, jiu-jitsu as like a martial art. People like in MMA, it's like, oh, I get knocked out, people care. Because with jiu-jitsu, it's very different. Yeah, like, I think that's where that mindset comes from.
Yeah, like, people, I say this to white belts. It's like, I'll ask them, like, they'll be like, oh, I'm scared to compete. But I'm like, and they really want to, you know, and I'll never force anyone to compete if they don't want to. It's like, they're like, oh, like, what if I lose in the first 30 seconds? And I'll always ask them, like, what are my results as a white belt? And they'll be like, I have no idea. And it's like, no one is going to remember what you did as a white belt. No one remembers what David or Jeremy or Nick or Red or like, no one remembers how they went as a white belt.
I think I remember having a similar conversation with you. You're like, dude, look at all the guys like Gordon Ryan. Who knows what Gordon Ryan was doing at blue belt? Like, he wasn't always this good. People aren't always this good. And I think last thing for me is, what can we expect from the 411 team in the next sort of 2 to 3 years? Like, obviously, title fights. Is there a goal for you? Obviously, trials is a
Yep,
big goal.
yep. Worlds as well.
Worlds,
Yeah, more gi.
more gi.
Yeah, we would love to add more gi titles and, a bigger gi team. I would love to grow the kids team and have like a bit of a system where it's built from the ground up. Rather than I think we put a huge focus on, and people get angry about this and they say, oh, you shouldn't poach and recruit, and I'm not saying I poach, right? Like, but it's like, well, we did such a great job recruiting people to our team. We've had like really good people come over, like Red from France or Serena from a gi background from different gyms, Kai. So it's like, I think we've put such a huge emphasis on making sure that those people who were, coming over here felt comfortable. So again, we did such a great job recruiting. I would love to do a better job nurturing from the ground up, and like bringing young
Homegrown
kids,
talent.
homegrown talent that we develop, and that we have a system, and that I've now coached all these guys. They can now coach the next generation, and so on and so on. And then obviously like titles, hopefully, fingers crossed. If God wills it, as they say, and we extend our facilities, and hopefully we can. Maybe 2 to 3 years is a bit wishful thinking, but hopefully the boys can have their own places where they can call their gym and
Like
they
an
can coach their
expansion of
students.
411.
Yeah. Like I would love that. Again, we've put in a process in place where they can now better their lives and they can make a career out of this, and they can positively impact their communities. Yeah.
Sick. Well, thank you, Raph.
No worries. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
No worries.
That went way longer than I thought. I was like looking at my watch and I was like, dude.
Well, that's good. You got lots of content.
I did. That was 36 minutes.